Knee-deep in the murky soup of my flooded basement, I clutched a wriggling frog in one hand and a soggy HOA fine in the other. The air ryer of mildew-sodden wood and raw humiliation across from me stood Vanessa Harrove, her designer pajamas plastered to her skin like a second-rate costume, staring in horror. As I said, voice steady, "This is on you, Vanessa." The frog croaked as if nodding along. Just 12 hours earlier, she'd been lounging on her porch, sipping lemon-infused water, gloating over the fresh gravel patch where my drainage ditch used to be. It started innocently enough. I was raking leaves from the narrow ditch behind my house, a functional channel I'd maintained for years. Since buying the place, it wasn't Patino landscaping, no frills, but it did its job every summer. It guided runoff from my yard and Vanessa's elevated lot into the city storm system. Without it, water had a cruel way of pooling in the lowest spot. Vanessa's walkout basement, she either forgot that or believed gravity bent to HOA rules. When Vanessa clawed her way to HOA president, it was like watching a mall cop declare herself general. She didn't just enforce rules, she invented them. First came mailbox height mandates, then bans on lawn ornaments, and finally her magnum opus, easement beautification. Her voice dripped with smug superiority at the board meeting, decrying ugly natural ditches she proposed, filling them with gravel, planting ornamental shrubs, and calling it a nature trail. I nearly spat out my coffee reading her newsletter, complete with a cartoon sun grinning over a gravel-filled trench. Surely no one would greenlight this madness. I was dead wrong. Within 2 weeks, Vanessa hired a crew that looked more like wedding planners than landscapers. Right gloves, wheelbarrows, and a cement mixer. My ditch was labeled a neighborhood nuisance. She strutted onto my property in athleisure gear, clipboard in hand, declaring the channel below aesthetic standards. I told her it wasn't. Decorate was critical hydrology, she smirked. Maybe get a fountain, at least that's useful. That day they blocked the ditch with plywood, dumped gravel, and planted 2 scrawny trees like they were guarding a palace. I stood there, rake in hand, watching years of practical engineering vanish under decorative rocks. Neighbors shuffled by, offering weak shrugs or pitying glances, but none dared challenge Vanessa. She had them cowed. I tried one last plea. "Vanessa, this isn't about looks. That ditch keeps both our homes dry. Block it and water will slide downhill straight to your basement." She waved me off. My foundation sealed the H-wave, voted it's done. Then she slapped me with a $25 fine for unauthorized soil disruption. I retreated to my porch, staring at the sky. Dark clouds loomed heavy with intent. July here. Mint flash flood, sudden vicious deluges that vanished as fast as they came. The forecast warned of a storm system pulsing west of us. I could smell the damp in the air. Digging the ditch out myself tempted me, but Vanessa's new cameras would catch it, landing me another finer. Worse, so I played smarter. I documented everything, photos, videos, timestamps of the ditch before and after her crew's invasion. Then I waited. Nature would fight this battle for me that night. The storm unleashed hell. Rain didn't fall. It assaulted. Thunder split the sky like a fracturing spine from my dry porch. I watched water pool in my yard, blocked by Vanessa's gravel masterpiece. It hesitated, then veered sideways, sniffing out the slope to her pristine backyard. Her lawn ornaments bobbed like shipwrecks. Her patio chairs tipped. Then the real chaos hit. Her basement windows fogged from within. Water was breaching, lights flickered, and a shop vac wailed before choking out by morning. I was sipping coffee when Vanessa charged across the street, hair wild, pajamas soaked, waving a dripping HOA violation notice. "This is your fault," she screamed. "You knew." Calmly, I fetched a city easement map and my photo stack from the garage, handing them over like poker cards. "Here's the ditch before, here's your gravel, here's last night's flood." Her jaw clenched and I twitched. Neighbors peeked from blinds, one pretending to rake leaves to eavesdrop. "You planned this," she hissed. I shrugged. You blocked a ditch in a floodplain. Physics doesn't need my help. Then I added, check with your insurance. Floods from landscaping negligence aren't usually covered. Her lips quivered, or dread, I couldn't tell. She stomped back through puddles to her waterlogged kingdom. A frog leapt from my soggy grass into her flower bed, croaking what sounded like a taunt. The flood's aftermath left the neighborhood in a tense hush. Vanessa's backyard was a disaster movie set. Mud-smeared porch, uprooted flower beds, a patio chair wedged against a fence. Yet she refused to fold. At the next HOA meeting, she unveiled a slideshow blaming her flooded basement on my malicious hydrological sabotage. She tossed around terms like gross negligence, even pushing to ban me from meetings for endangering safety. I sat in the back silent as she projected images of her ruined basement, narrating like a true crime host. A board member piped up, "Didn't you approve the gravel fill?" Vanessa insisted it was cosmetic. Another noted her concrete barrier blocked a public easement. She called it an upgrade. I said nothing. My folder was ready for the next move. The next day, I visited City Hall, meeting zoning officer Carla, whose patience seemed forged in resident complaints. I showed her property lines, easement diagrams, and photos of Vanessa's gravel dump. Carla's eyebrow arched at the buried ditch. "Any permits filed?" she asked. "None." I said, "They fined me for objecting." She jotted notes, promising a visit 3 days later. 2 inspectors arrived, measuring the easement, probing gravel, and checking elevations. Vanessa stood in her driveway, arms crossed, glaring when they asked to inspect her side. She demanded a warrant and slammed her door. The next morning, the HOA got a city citation: restore the ditch within 30 days or face penalties. Vanessa's newsletter rant accused the city of political targeting, even hinting I'd bribed a official claim. So absurd, her allies distanced themselves. But I wasn't done. I dug into old HOA records, newsletters, emails, meeting notes. Vanessa's pattern emerged: bullying with jargon, burying denters and fines until they quit or moved. Her power thrived on apathy. Unattended votes silenced objectors. 5 years ago, she'd arrived with a pie and a clipboard promising order. Yard sales became her domain. Then holiday decor, then uniform mulch. Colors, the ditch with its untamed edges offended her. Curated utopia, then came a game changer. A neighbor, Laya, knocked one evening, clutching a flash drive nervously. She revealed she'd saved HOA emails before Vanessa ousted her. They were damning. Vanessa knew her basement was in a flood basin. Her realtor had disclosed prior issues. She'd pushed to hide flood risks for better insurance and filled the ditch to boost her property value. I thanked Laya, promising anonymity. The emails joined my binder alongside a report from my friend Owen, a retired civil engineer. His analysis detailed the ditch's role, the blockage's impact, and our area's runoff physics, complete with diagrams. The day before the city's deadline, Vanessa emailed the HOA claiming an appeal and warning against touching her gravel. I replied with Owen's report. The city's order and a single line: further delay is obstruction and will be documented. By morning, shovel scraped and HOA hired crew began clearing the gravel. Vanessa's car was gone, but her curtains twitched. The supervisor chuckled, saying he'd seen countless HOAs prioritize decor over function. Gravity doesn't vote. He quipped water from a recent rain float, again serene and unstoppable. But the real storm was brewing. Those emails were about to ignite the neighborhood. Vanessa didn't vanish quietly. Days after the ditch was restored, a truck delivered a concrete water feature to her driveway, a low wall meant to divert flow with her nephews. She built a makeshift dam, slowing drainage to keep her yard dry while pushing overflow toward mine. It was bold, petty, and illegal. I'd already tipped the city, and my new wildlife camera, hidden in a tree, recorded her scheme. A heavy storm was forecast for Friday. I prepped, clearing debris, securing gutters, reinforcing the ditch, and let the camera roll. That evening, the sky turned bruise green, thunder, growling rain Hit at 8:30 a relentless barrage. The ditch flowed smoothly until it struck Vanessa's barrier. Water swirled backed up, then overwhelmed her flimsy channels. The dam collapsed, sending a torrent straight to her patio door. At 9:17 p.m., the glass buckled and her basement flooded again. Furniture floated, sparks popped from a submerged cord. My camera caught it all, including Vanessa's frantic silhouette, before the surge morning revealed devastation. Her gravel path was sludge, her basin cracked, her porch sagging. We locked eyes across the yard. Silent, loaded city inspectors returned with my camera's photo, confirming her barrier violated runoff laws. She refused entry, citing privacy, earning a warning, comply, or face fines and environmental penalties. Vanessa skipped the next HOA meeting, sending a vague note about a personal crisis, but the room buzzed with defiance. Neighbors shared stories, fines for asymmetrical yards, banned frog statues, silenced dissent. The treasurer revealed Vanessa's unauthorized spending on her beautification guests filled the air. I sat quietly, no longer the outsider but the spark. 3 neighbors shook my hand after one joking, "Never thought I'd thank a ditch." The story spread. A local blog on HOA scandals ran a "Peacewoman floods home twice, blames ditch" using newsletter quotes and aerial shots. Comments roasted Vanessa's hubris regionally. It gained traction, fueling anti-HOA sentiment. The city confirmed her liability for environmental damage. Liens loomed if she didn't pay. A petition to oust her circulated, and an emergency meeting called by Vice President Harold packed the community center. Harold listed her infractions: misused funds, illegal construction, misinformation. The no-confidence vote was unanimous. Vanessa didn't show her. HOA access was cut off. The new board audited finances, uncovering inflated contracts and payments. To Vanessa's cousin, a public Q&A let residents vent. One said, "I just want to belong again." Laughter erupted when someone dubbed the ditch Vanessa's folly. Harold proposed a community green zone, native plants, benches, signage about the ditch's role. I agreed, joking. No fountains. Neighbors planted together, kids chasing butterflies, jazz playing Leia. Unveiled a plaque, "Community Resilience Project reclaimed by neighbors, restored by nature." Vanessa's house now for sale with flood disclosure set. Quiet rumors said she couldn't sell during a final storm. I saw her on her porch, raincoat on, watching the ditch flow. No anger, just stillness, maybe regret. The neighborhood thrived, transparent. HOAs, block parties, mended bonds. I tended the ditch, a ritual, now teaching kids its value. A ceramic frog appeared on my porch, a neighbor's cheeky gift. The ditch didn't just drain water, it flushed fear, lies, and control, leaving a community reborn.